Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Farangiz. In this video, I will be sharing my SAT journey, strategies to get above 1500 quickly, best resources, and some motivation. Also, I have a little surprise somewhere in the video. Let's start with my SAT journey. As you can see, I scored 1560 overall, and my sub-scores are 770 on reading and writing, 790 on math. For context, I'm an international student and I decided to apply US colleges last year around March. As I wanted to apply to top colleges and ask full scholarship, I knew that I needed to get at least 1500 and above to boost my chance of acceptance. I quickly registered for May SAT. As I had a short time until the May test, I researched the best materials to prepare for the test. Firstly, I self-studied all the contents in reading, writing, and math. Since I had only 1 month, I decided to study 8 hours every day for 1 month, and I got 40/40. If you're watching this 1 month before your test, I see you, you can do it. And if you're watching this 1 day before your test, I see you too, good luck. On later tests, I didn't cram as much as 8 hours every day because I realized that to get into these top colleges, I also need great essays, extracurriculars, etc. Through summer, I took an SAT prep class, but still in August, I got 1430. I was still grateful, but a little bit disappointed. Since I already had my base knowledge on SAT, I decided to continue self-studying for the October one and got 1510 and 1560. Now I will share my tips that got me above 1500. Let's go! Tip number 1. Solve lots of practice tests as you are in a real test condition. After I got 1430, I studied only by solving almost 30 QS practice tests by using a stopwatch, which then later on got me 1510 and 1560. I can even show you my SAT watch. As you cannot use digital watch during the test, I just bought a kid's watch and it costed me like $1, but it was with me since the beginning of my journey. So yeah. Anyways, since these QS past SAT tests are the closest one to real test, I recommend you to use official tests like that instead of tests prepared by other companies except College Board. But guys, tip number 2, it's quality over quantity. Make sure to review all of the questions after you practice. I see so many students make the same mistake of solving lots of questions, lots of practice tests, but they are still doing the same mistakes again and again. I know that after 2 or 3 hours of practice, you just want to know your score, whether you improved or not, and move on. But make sure to review the questions, especially you did wrong and also accidentally got correct. You don't have to do it immediately, you can do it later on, but do it. You will start to see a pattern in your mistakes. That's why solving lots of practice tests with meticulously reviewing each of them was my key to crack above 1500. I recommend you to keep a journal or an Excel sheet writing which questions you got wrong and the reason of it, and also how you can do that type of question correct later on. It is kind of identifying your knowledge gap and filling it as much as possible until the real test. So reviewing is important. Tip number 3. Understand why wrong choices are wrong. When we solve a question and get it wrong, we look at the correct answer and try to rationalize it in our mind. It may stem from our confirmation bias. When the answer is saying C is correct, then okay, C is correct, kind of thing. You may have heard of answer explanations like A is correct because A is correct. As I'm currently an SAT teacher, I try to make sure to never do that to my students. While explaining why A is correct, I try to make sure that my students understand that why B is incorrect, why C is incorrect, and why D is incorrect. So, analyze why the other three choices are wrong. It requires more time to review your questions in that way, I know, but it stimulates your learning process. And in the long run, you will save a lot of time and will not have to do so many practice tests. Tip number 4. In the test, use the elimination method as you solve the questions, especially if you are stuck and struggling to find the correct choice. Literally, take the pencil and strike through. It will eliminate your chance of distraction. And it will save time because you don't have to read the same answers again and again. If you are taking a digital SAT, use the cross-out function. This strategy is like double checking while you are solving the questions because both you know that other three choices are wrong and one choice is correct. Your chance of making mistakes decrease immensely after that. Tip number 5. Convince yourself that there is only one correct choice. I know it's obvious, but sometimes students make this mistake of thinking maybe two of the choices are correct, or like one choice is 90% correct, one other choice is 60% correct. So it confuses us, but no, it's either 100 or 0% correct. Even if one word in the choice is wrong, this answer choice is completely wrong. Tip number 6. Don't spend too much time on one question. I really struggled myself with that situation. I would just stubbornly try to solve that one question and waste my time a lot, like waste 5 minutes in one question. And it's unreasonable because remember that all questions weight the same in your score. So if you're stuck, just skip that question or put a dot near to the choice that you think is most likely to be correct. You can always go back with solving more easier questions and getting your easier points. So get the easy questions at first, then do harder ones. In any case, they weight the same. Tip number 7. Now I will explain my way of tackling reading passages. If your SAT is paper-based like mine, you can do the reading in order of this. Start from your strongest passage. It may be science, it may be literature. In my case, I didn't have the strongest passage, but I had the weakest passage, which is history passage. So as soon as I saw it was history passage, I would leave it as a last passage to do and make sure that I have at least 10 minutes for it. Okay, reading the passage. First, I would read the prompt because it will give you an idea what the text is about. Then I would immediately go to the line reference questions. There are usually 2 for one passage. Then I would treat line reference questions as one instead of 2 questions because their answers should match with one another. Before reading the passage, I would mark these lines in the passage with putting brackets near to them. It would usually take me around 1 minute per passage. Then start to read the passage until you come to these brackets and then go to the line reference questions, read the question, and try to answer the question while continuing to read the passage. It will save you immense amount of time because you don't have to go back and forth and you won't get distracted by the numbers of the lines. When it comes to other questions, I would continue to read the passage chunk by chunk as SAT questions usually come in chronological order. Usually, but not always, but usually. By the way, shout out to Anna's Universe for the line reference tip, and it was very useful for me. For digital SAT takers, I would highly recommend you to read the question first. As the reading and writing section of SAT shortened a lot and it became like one question per text, it will save you a great amount of time because you'll understand what you are looking for in the text. You can find the correct choice faster and just skim the all unnecessary parts. Tip number 8. For SAT vocabulary memorization, use spaced repetition method. Spaced repetition is an evidence-based technique that usually uses flashcards. I used Anki application for that. Especially, you can use that technique to master vocabulary in context questions. Put the words you learned from the practice test into the Anki flashcard with writing its English meaning, and by creating sentences with them, they will be more memorable. Tip number 9. In general, read a lot. Yeah, it's obvious, but it's like you can run faster if you run more kind of thing. I just made it up. So, it doesn't have to be a reading that makes you bored. You can read science fiction, etc. You can also read magazines or journals. For example, I like to read the New Yorker Journal. Also, for the digital SAT, College Board added poems into their questions. So, you can benefit a lot if you read poem books and analyze them. By the way, before sharing the best resources that I used to get above 1500, I'd like to share my surprise. So I would give a free 2 hours of SAT and admissions strategizing consultation to one person. If you want to be that lucky person, go to my Instagram account, link in the description, share this video's post in your Instagram stories by writing your favorite tip number, and do not forget to tag me. The winner will be chosen randomly, so maybe it's you. Let's continue on the resources. At the beginning of my preparation, I didn't do many practice tests. Instead, if you're a beginner, like if you're starting from zero like me, focus on learning all the contents in reading, writing, and math. By contents, I mean learn all the formulas, learn all the grammar rules, etc. For learning reading and writing contents, I used Erika Meltzer's reading book and grammar book. I also used College Panda's writing book. Those grammar and writing books are the only books that you need to ace your writing section. The rest will come with practice. I also used 1600 IEO platform to prepare for the reading section, which was greatly beneficial for my reading part. But when it comes to digital test, I'm not quite sure whether it will be beneficial for you, because in digital SAT, reading section changed a lot. When it comes to math section, because I studied in Turkish and Uzbek curriculum, which they have very hard math curriculum, I was already good at in SAT math, but I didn't know SAT math format. So I used the book called College Panda Math, and it was very useful for me. After learning the format and all the contents in SAT math, I used Khan Academy to practice for that. To be honest, Khan Academy math questions were harder than usual, so it was good that it was harder, because when I tried real practice tests, it became so much easier and I became faster at solving them. For digital SAT, you can still use the books that I recommended, except the reading one, because SAT is still asking for that grammar rules, so these books are still beneficial for you. When it comes to math didn't change that much, so you can still use that one. Okay, so what to do in your SAT week? Every time in my SAT week, I blocked my schedule for doing one practice test every day in that week. So from Monday to Friday, I did one practice test every day. When it comes to the day before your SAT, I recommend you to check your calculator, check your ID, bring stopwatch with you, and bring normal pencil instead of mechanical pencil. Also, sleep. Sleep is very important. Also, in the day of your SAT, when you wake up in the morning, try to look at your past practice tests and read one passages in each section, because it will help you to just get used to reading before your actual test. Because if you go to the test and you didn't read anything, if it's the first reading that you read in your day, it would be hard to get used to it, it would take some time to read faster. Last but not least, I want to touch upon mindset. I love the quote of the person who has a why can overcome any how. Try to determine your why you want to achieve your target score in SAT. In my case, my target score was at least to get 1500, and my why was that I want to get into these top colleges with full scholarship. And then I continued to ask myself more whys, like you can ask yourself more whys, why you want to get into that top college, etc. By continuing to ask yourself why, you will find your intrinsic motivation to study for the SAT. And believe me, nothing can stop you if you have a strong intrinsic motivation. And when you find it, write your target score with your why answers and put it in your wall as a reminder. Another great perspective is that think about SAT as an opportunity for you to show your college readiness to your dream colleges. Thank you all for watching, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Also, if you have any other SAT tips, you can share them in the comment section. So let's meet in the comment section. Bye!